Alice was about to be executed by the people of the church. The church, which along with a king overlord controlled the last city, considered Alice a threat because she could hypnotize people. As the execution was about to happen, she used her ability on a guard, making him believe that he was the one being executed. The guard, in his illusion, cut the rope, inadvertently freeing Alice. It is the story of the future, where Earth is ruined, and only one city is safe for humans. Outside, the world is a dangerous, empty place with mutated creatures. Inside the city, a king and the church rule strictly. No one dares to challenge their laws. Here, we meet a woman named Alice. Alice has a unique ability. She can create illusions, essentially hypnotizing people or making them see things that aren't real. The church sees her power as a threat and decides she must die. The moment of her execution arrives. Arlie, the leader of the church guards, orders her to be hanged. But as the rope tightens, Alice uses her power. Panicked, the guard cuts the rope to save himself, but in reality, he has just freed Alice. Confused, the guard then thinks he sees Alice running right at him. He fires his weapon, but the illusion tricks him again. He ends up shooting and killing one of his fellow guards. Seeing this, the guard leader, Arlie, becomes furious and kills the bewildered guard for attacking his own comrade. Arlie then commands the rest of her guards to capture or kill the escaping Alice. But Alice is resourceful. Using her skills, she fights back, taking down the guards one by one. In a final act of defiance, she manages to use her own escape rope to hang Arlie, the guard leader, leaving her behind as Alice flees to freedom. Meanwhile, a hunter named Boise was heading towards the city. As he passed through a tunnel, he sensed danger and stopped. Just then, robbers surrounded him, trying to steal weapons from his horse. But they didn't notice a dangerous snake nearby. When the snake suddenly struck one of the men, Boise seized the moment. He quickly attacked, killing all the robbers one by one. Afterwards, Boise not only took back his things but also gathered the robbers' weapons. Before leaving, he carefully picked up his companion, the snake that had helped him. Elsewhere, Alice, having escaped the church guards, found refuge with a kind blind woman. Hiding there, Alice learned more from the woman about why the church was so afraid of her powers. They worried she might expose a secret they desperately wanted to keep hidden. Their conversation was interrupted by a surprise visit from the Queen herself, accompanied by her assistant, James. Sending her own guards outside, the Queen spoke to Alice alone. She confessed she disagreed with the church's decision to execute Alice but felt powerless to oppose her husband, the King Overlord. The Queen admitted she secretly wished for the church's downfall but couldn't act so. The Queen proposed a dangerous mission for Alice. She explained that her scouts had located a fearsome creature, known only as the Skull River creature. This beast had been killing her guards. Since her own guards had failed, the Queen pleaded for Alice's help. Alice, already marked for death by the church, saw this mission as a potential path to safety and a way to strike back at those who hunted her. She agreed, but demanded a large payment from the Queen. Alice knew she couldn't survive the journey alone and needed the money to hire a skilled bounty hunter for protection. However, as the Queen left, her assistant James pulled Alice aside. He secretly warned her against the plan, questioning whether the Queen could truly handle the power she sought. James suggested Alice should just take the money and deliberately fail the mission, a safer outcome for both of them. To persuade her, he even gave Alice an expensive watch. The Queen, meanwhile, went to see her husband, the King Overlord, who ruled the entire city. He was very old and near death. After telling a caretaker named Narcissus to look after the king, the Queen secretly slipped away to meet Boise. It turned out they were having an affair behind the sick king's back. The Queen's real plan was clear: send Alice on a deadly mission far away, clearing the path for the Queen to seize control without the church interfering. Later, Alice found Boise, who was rather boldly sitting on a throne when she arrived, to recruit him for the mission. She explained everything. The treacherous journey to Skull River, described as the most dangerous place left on Earth, and the need to hunt the deadly creature there. Knowing the immense risk, she offered him the expensive watch James had given her. Boise warned her that the world outside was even worse than she imagined. Alice understood the danger and told Boise that if things became too desperate, he had her permission to abandon her and save himself. Just as they were discussing the plan, church guards burst in, trying to capture Alice again. A fight broke out. As one guard aimed to shoot, Boise threw his snake, which viciously attacked the guards, biting several of them. During the chaos, Arnie, the very same guard leader Alice had left hanging, appeared. Somehow, she had survived and was now burning for revenge. In the fight, Arnie managed to kill Boyce's brave snake. But the diversion allowed Boyce and Alice to escape the city. News of their escape and the guard deaths reached the church leader, known as the Patriarch. He was furious. Worse, Alice's defiance had inspired the city's people. They started making drawings of her and murmuring against the church. Fearing a full rebellion, the Patriarch knew he had to act fast. He ordered his guards to find the blind old woman who had sheltered Alice. They tortured her until she revealed that Alice and Boyce were headed to Skull River. Even though she told them the truth, the Patriarch mercilessly ordered her execution. He then assembled a special team, putting the vengeful Arnie in charge. Their mission: crushing the spark of rebellion before it could ignite. Meanwhile, far from the city's dangers, Alice and Boyce had entered the perilous Outerlands. They found a spot that seemed safe enough to rest for the night. Boyce, saddened by the loss of his snake, searched for another like it, but found none. After traveling for a full day, they reached their first checkpoint, a small trading post run by a brother and sister, Ross and Mara. It turned out Boyce knew them well. He and Mara seemed to share a mutual affection, revealing yet another relationship in Boyce's complicated life. While sharing a meal, Alice stressed the urgency of reaching Skull River quickly to deal with the creature. Knowing their current pace on foot was too slow, Boyce told her he knew a shortcut, a faster, though likely still dangerous, path to their destination. It was filled with danger, but with time running out, they knew they had to risk it. That night, Boyce spent time with Mara before resting. In the morning, he and Alice set out again, ready to face the challenges ahead. "Be careful," Boyce cautioned Alice. "From here on, we won't find friendly faces, only mutants and other threats. Stay alert at all times." They didn't know it, but hot on their trail was Arnie and her team of church guards, traveling secretly by train, determined to catch and kill them. Back in the last city, the Queen learned about Arnie's pursuit and angrily confronted the church leader, Patriarch. He coldly replied that killing Alice and Boyce quickly was necessary for the church. It would silence them and serve as a warning to anyone thinking of defying the church's authority. The Queen was trapped. She couldn't tell the Patriarch the truth, that she had sent Alice on this mission, and that she was secretly involved with Boyce. Meanwhile, the Patriarch harbored his own sinister plan. He intended to let the old king die, then dispose of the Queen herself. With the royal line gone, only the church would remain, ruling the last city forever. Out in the wastelands, Arnie's train reached the trading post. Her guards captured Ross and Mara. They tortured Ross mercilessly, demanding to know where Alice and Boyce had gone. At first, Mara refused to speak, but seeing her brother's agony, she broke down. She told them about the shortcut Boyce planned to take to reach the river faster. Despite getting the information she wanted, Arnie showed no mercy. She ordered her guards to burn the trading post to the ground and kill both Mara and Ross. 3 days had now passed since Alice and Boyce started their journey. They only had 3 days left to reach the creature at Skull River. Their path led them to a desolate place called Rift City. A massive trench split the city in two, impossible to cross except by a single cable car. Boyce knew the operator, a man named Cyrus, planning to pay him for passage. But when they reached the cable car station, they found Cyrus already dead. The church guards had beaten them there. Suddenly, Arnie and her soldiers emerged, surrounding them. This time, all the guards wore dark sunglasses, a tactic to prevent Alice from using her mind-bending eye powers on them. Arnie sneered at Boyce. "You made a big mistake helping her," she said, then cruelly dragged forward the battered and broken Mara. Mara was barely alive, suffering terribly. As she tried to gasp out a final word to Boyce, Arnie shot her dead right in front of him. Blinded by grief and rage, Boyce roared and charged the guards. This mission was no longer just about survival. It was personal. Alice immediately backed him up, and the two skilled fighters began taking down guards left and right. However, they soon realized they were heavily outnumbered. Fighting retreat, they battled their way towards the cable car, dodging shots from Arnie, who had grabbed a large, powerful gun. Somehow, they scrambled into the cable car cabin and started it moving across the deep trench. But their escape wasn't clean. Several guards managed to jump onto the moving cabin with them. A desperate fight began inside the swaying car as Alice and Boyce struggled to throw the guards off into the chasm below. more soldiers climbed onto the roof and began firing down at them. Boise held off the remaining guards inside while Alice climbed onto the roof to face the shooters. With incredible agility, she fought them off. Watching from the other side of the trench, Arnie saw her soldiers falling. Furious, she gave a chilling order, "Cut the cables!" One cable snapped, and the car lurched violently, hanging by a single thread. Alice barely managed to hang on. Below, Boise kicked the last guard out into the abyss. Then, the second cable was cut. The car plunged downwards, near a cave opening. Alice and Boise scrambled out, heading for the safety of the cave. As they reached it, Arnie, aiming from above, shot Boise in the shoulder. Before Arnie could fire a killing headshot, Alice yanked Boise into the cave. Finding a hidden spot inside, Alice tended to Boise's wound, removing the bullet. He would survive, but the loss of Mara had changed him. He was now driven by a burning desire for revenge against the church guards who had taken her from him. Back in the city, the Queen made a startling discovery. She was pregnant. She knew instantly that the child wasn't her dying husband's, but Boise's, a dangerous secret no one else knew. Seeing the pregnancy as securing her future line of succession, she decided she no longer needed the old king. Quietly, without fanfare, the Queen murdered her husband. Miles away, unaware of the events in the city, Alice and Boise pressed onward. This area was infamous for dangerous mutated creatures, but it was the fastest route, a shortcut they had to take. As they traveled, they heard the distinct sound of the train carrying Arnie and the guards growing closer behind them. Exhausted after a long day, they sought refuge for the night in a derelict building within Shadowbane. Knowing the mutants hunted after dark, they made a plan. They would take turns keeping watch, stay awake all night, and maintain a ring of fire around their shelter. Boise had reminded Alice that fire was the mutants' greatest weakness. It terrified them. But before they could even attempt to rest, chilling sounds echoed through the ruins. The mutants were closing in. Boise quickly lit fires around them, hoping to keep the creatures at bay. It wasn't enough. The desperate mutants leaped through the flames, attacking fiercely. Alice and Boise fought back, shooting at the grotesque creatures, but the mutants were unervingly tough, seemingly unfazed by bullets or pain. To them, Alice and Boise were simply food. Boise desperately tried to scare them off by detonating a nearby oil tanker, but still, they came, their sheer numbers beginning to overwhelm the pair. Just as the mutants lunged, about to devour Alice, she unleashed her most powerful weapon, her mind. Fire was their deepest fear. One by one, under the power of Alice's illusion, the mutants shrieked and writhed as if burning alive, eventually collapsing, dead. When the terrifying ordeal was over and silence fell, a bewildered Boise looked around. If the fire was that intense, he asked, why aren't we burned? How did only the mutants die? Alice explained the truth. There was no real fire, she told him. I made them believe they were burning. Their fear was so strong, the illusion alone was enough to kill them. She admitted the illusion was so powerful, even Boise had briefly seen the phantom flames. Throughout their journey, Boise had often been the one protecting Alice. But in Shadowbane, her unique abilities had saved them both. They were now incredibly close to their destination. Skull River was just one more day's travel away. Meanwhile, back in the city, the king's death was formally announced. The queen immediately declared that her unborn child would be the next ruler. This news infuriated the patriarch. He secretly sent urgent messages to his guards in the field. Find Alice and Boise and eliminate them immediately. Once they were dealt with, the church would make its move and seize control from the queen. But the queen was shrewder than the patriarch realized. Sensing his intentions, she turned her attention to her assistant, James. Playing on his ambition, she seduced him with promises of power, suggesting he help her get rid of the church leaders. Once the church was neutralized, she whispered she would marry him, and they would rule the last city together. Out in the wilderness, Alice and Boise heard the pursuing train getting closer and closer. They knew they couldn't outrun it indefinitely. Arnie and her guards would catch them eventually. It was time to stop running. They devised a final, desperate plan. Taking a deep breath, Alice walked out into the open and stood alone, directly in the path of the oncoming train. When the guards aboard spotted her, they steered the speeding train straight towards her, eager to end the chase. They didn't realize they were driving right into a trap laid. Alice sprinted towards a chasm where the bridge was broken, the train thundering right behind her. At the very last second, she leaped off the edge. Below, hidden from view, Boise was waiting and caught her safely. The massive train, unable to stop in time, plunged over the broken bridge and crashed into the depths below, exploding in a fiery wreck. Arnie and all the remaining church guards pursuing them were instantly killed. When news of this disaster reached the patriarch back in the city, he knew his position was desperate. His only chance now, he decided, was to eliminate the queen immediately and seize absolute control. But just as he prepared to make his move, James, the queen's assistant, whom she had secretly won over, burst in with his own loyal followers. Acting on the queen's behalf, James and his men attacked the patriarch and the remaining church officials, killing them all. The church's reign was over. The queen was now the sole ruler of the last city. Later that night, she rewarded James for his loyalty by taking him to her bed. Meanwhile, after their incredibly dangerous journey, Alice and Boise finally arrived at Skull River. This desolate place was once a seabed, but now the water was long gone, leaving behind a vast wasteland littered with the bones of countless people who had perished there over the years, a grim history that gave the place its name. It was the night of the full moon, the exact deadline the queen had given Alice. Their mission was clear: find the creature tonight and kill it. As darkness fell, Alice prepared herself, strapping sharp silver blades to her hands. Boise came up behind her, starting to warn her about the unknown dangers, cautioning her that the creature could attack from anywhere. Just then, the full moon cleared the horizon, casting an eerie light. Suddenly, Boise cried out, his body contorting. Before Alice's eyes, he transformed into a monstrous, snarling creature, a werewolf. Here was the story's biggest twist. Boise was the creature all along. He was the beast the queen had sent Alice to kill. And the most shocking part? Boise himself had no idea he carried this curse, transforming only under the full moon and likely having no memory of his rampages. But Alice had known the truth from the very beginning. That's why she had insisted he come with her. She needed him here under the full moon to fulfill her mission. Without hesitation, Alice launched herself at the werewolf Boise, her silver blades flashing. The creature possessed immense strength, far greater than hers. But Alice was ready. She used her illusion powers, distracting the werewolf's mind, just as she had practiced on the mutants, and even glimpsed in Boise himself earlier. While the beast was confused by her illusions, she struck again and again with the silver blades, weakening it until finally, the werewolf collapsed, unconscious. Later, Boise slowly regained consciousness, human once more but terribly wounded. Alice gently gave him some water. Then, she revealed the full extent of her plan. She confessed that when she treated his shoulder wound back in the cave, she had secretly embedded a small silver plate beneath his skin. Silver, she explained, was like poison to his kind. It had been slowly weakening him throughout their journey, making him vulnerable enough for her to defeat when he finally transformed. It was a plan she had conceived from the start. Alice apologized sincerely, tears in her eyes. She admitted that Boise had saved her life multiple times, and despite everything, she had grown to care for him. But she felt bound by her mission. As the full moon climbed higher in the sky, she told him sadly that when he transformed again, she would have to kill him. And soon, as the moonlight intensified, Boise changed once more into the werewolf. True to her word, Alice fulfilled her deadly promise to the queen. She fought the creature again, and this time she killed it. She then carefully removed a specific part from the creature's body, the item the queen needed to gain power. Alice buried Boise's body there in the desolate Skull River and began the long journey back to the city alone. She returned to find the city in chaos. Inspired by her defiance, the people had risen up in open rebellion against the authorities. Alice went straight to the queen and presented the part she had taken from the werewolf. "I've done my job," she said. But when the queen realized the creature Alice had killed was Boise, her lover, the father of her unborn child, she was utterly shattered. James, standing nearby, finally understood the depths of the queen's manipulation and the truth of the mission. He began to speak, furious at being used, but before he could finish, the grief-stricken and enraged queen lashed out, killing him on the spot. The rebellion, however, could not be stopped. With the church gone and the queen's guards overwhelmed, the people seized control, overthrowing the last vestiges of power. Democracy finally came to the last city. But there was one final twist. Out in Skull River, Boise wasn't truly dead. Alice hadn't killed him, only the werewolf curse, the creature within him. Somehow cured, Boise eventually made his way back to the now-free city. He found Alice, and the two, having survived impossible odds and terrible choices, were reunited, ready to face the future together. And on this hopeful note, the movie ends.